Hello everyone, welcome to the next installment of our Beyond the Classroom series. My name is Stephanie Eisenhart. I am the active learning teacher at Hunt Middle School. And my presentation tonight is going to focus on how we use our calendars, how they work with routines, and how ultimately that builds their communication and vocabulary. Feels like as parents especially, we're always getting crash courses when it's necessary, and this one's going to be fairly painless. Our crash course tonight is just a little bit of the background behind why we are all doing what we do in the classroom. We have some major researchers who have guided our efforts in education, special education. We have Piaget, who defined the 4 stages of cognitive development. Our learners in the active learning classrooms are primarily in the sensory motor and pre-operational stages, and we'll get to that more later. Lily Nielsen really worked a lot with more how to work with our special learners. She really especially focused on children with visual impairments, but her research extends to all of our learners in this setting. And then we also have Jan Van Dyke, who worked towards establishing our meaningful assessments of our students to guide where they are and where they should be going next. Okay, so our sensory motor learners, children in this stage will put things in their mouths to understand more about it. They do this because we receive a lot of information from our mouths and from our fingertips. Is it hard or soft? Is it bumpy or smooth? Is it hot or cold? Does it have a taste or a smell? If so, is it good or bad? Does it make a noise while I'm taking it to my mouth? Long story short, we begin to learn and understand the world around us by exploring and directly experiencing objects. So our sensory motor learners may have skill. Actually, our active learning students may have skills that have aspects of both sensory motor and the next stage in pre-operational. During this stage, as we move into pre-operational, we begin to think about things more symbolically, but in our earliest stage, sensory motor, we are very concrete learners. I only understand what is directly in my hand, in front of my eyes. But no matter where they are on this ladder of development, the calendar system that we use in school during instruction is very appropriate to both of the early stages of cognitive development. Okay, so here are some examples of what we use in the classroom. This is where our students start with a calendar. It is a one-box calendar or tactile schedule system. Start with a real object. I have a ball. This ball could just be a ball, or in my classroom, it could symbolize the start of a new activity. It could be PE. Now PE. And when I present it to a student, I'm looking for them to acknowledge it in some way. Are they going to reach out and touch it? Are they going to focus their eye gaze on it to acknowledge it in that way if they can't reach out and touch it? Are they going to at least give me some kind of state change in their face that they realize and they understand that I'm telling them that this is the start of a new activity? So using calendars in the classroom, I can honestly tell you, keeps us running smoothly and out of chaos, because when the student understands that I am telling them there are no surprises, this is going to be happening now, and they tell me, okay, I understand this is going to be happening now, they are so much more motivated to participate. It's just, I mean, if you start rushing, you think you're going to help your day by perhaps skipping the calendar aspect, you're not helping yourself, because I've got a student in a brief transition period on the mat between activities, and I go over and, okay, stand up, it's time to move on to the next activity. Those words don't mean anything. They really don't. And so he has no idea why I should abandon my fun on the mat to move on to the next thing. But as soon as I present now PE, okay, it's time to get up. I understand. I'm going to go be with my friends in PE. We're going to do exciting things. And it's how they understand, rather than things just happening to them or surprising them out of nowhere. This is just a fabulous way of how our students are active in what's a part of their necessary schedule, as a part of them being able to make choices about what's a part of their day. Okay, and then yes, that's our sensory motor learners. Spoken language is very, very abstract. It's a very complex development stage to understand that this sound, more than just being a familiar voice, that PE or ball means ball, and then also associating it with I'm going to pee and I will use the ball. So the more that we are able to pair our very concise language, verbiage, with an actual object, that begins to build their communication and their vocabulary and their understanding of the world and what's about to happen. And I do want to see a student acknowledge, I'm not just saying, now PE, we're immediately doing it. There is definitely an acknowledgement, a reaching, a looking, a intentionality to what's being presented to them before we move on. Now, as a middle school teacher, I do have many students that have moved past the sensory motor stage, at least to early stages of pre-operational, certainly as far as understanding the complexities of language, and that is a huge leap. And I certainly credit our amazing early childhood and elementary teachers for reinforcing what this all means, so that by the time they are sixth graders and above, this is already really firmly established. They They have been doing this for years and years, and when a new object or activity enters their schedule, oh, now drink, next PE. I have an idea that this means something's about to happen new. And this is also the next stage that we are able to get to, not going beyond just now. This is happening immediately. I don't know what could be happening next, but I at least know this is happening now, to adding boxes to the schedule. And then I can present now drink, next PE. The calendar is the first step. The second step is our calendar immediately leads us to a routine. We don't just acknowledge this and minutes go by and they're sitting on deck waiting for something to happen. It's an immediate reaction. I acknowledge that I'm going to PE. I'm going to PE right there. And our routines are built off of our learning targets, the IEP goals that we discuss at our ARD meetings, and then we spend a year mastering them with our students. And these routines are scripted. We become actors as teachers. I won't say we're acting, but we are following a precise recipe. We are going to say the same thing at the same time of day, in the same place in the room, and waiting for the response from our students. And this precise practice, this I like to call it Groundhog's Day. If you've seen the movie, it's happening. We are the constant. Our students' response could be the X factor, but as the days and weeks go along, they become the constant with us as well. And it's precisely through the routines that have our learning steps embedded. And the routines are going to be based around preferred activities, using preferred objects, and because you're not going to get learning through forcing a child to stick their hands in water if they hate sticking their hands in water. But if they love water, you can take objects and add them to water. Do they sink or do they float? Can we pick them back out of the water? And so these routines that we do at school, we can help you, we can provide you the routines that we use at school, and you can mirror them at home. If there are learning targets, goals that you have that are not in their daily schedule at school, we could work together to create a routine that you could follow at home. I would love to reinforce any goals that you have at school as well, and I know all of our other active learning teachers, we're here to always be moving our students forward in their understanding of the world and their independence, and their success is going to be more than just what we can accomplish at school. We're a team. We're working together. And so let's talk more about our objects. We do always want to start with an actual real object. But then we can go through some stages where this is a very understood thing now. I understand it's a ball, or I understand that I'm going to PE when I see the ball in my calendar. And then we can move to partial objects or objects on cards as well. So we've got, this is just a tennis ball, but I've cut it in half, and they can start to see that this is not still the whole object, but it means the same thing. And then, here's the biggest leap. Start to pair real objects or partial objects with a picture. Because it is a huge leap for our learners to understand that this flat, smooth, laminated thing is this. It might be hard for us to think, oh, I can see it's the same color, I see the lines, even if it's closer to the same size. This is a huge learning step right here. And even our learners who understand pictures now, any new activities that I'm going to introduce a new calendar object with, I would still start with the real object. So that's something important to remember at home. If you're going to have a box, you could have a shoe box. And okay, they understand what ball is. So I'm using a picture now. Well, do they understand what cup is? I should probably start with the real cup rather than the picture of the cup. And then once this fairly life-size picture makes sense, I could even start to reduce the size. And I also want to talk about choice making, because I love helping our students become more independent. This is not just happening to me. I have control to some degree over what's happening in my day. So this just means choosing in my classroom. Now choosing, and then I can present their choices. Now trampoline. Now trampoline, or now rolling. You choose. I think choices and adding to their independence makes our students, I mean, everyone feels you're more in control. You're happier when you are, when you have a direct say. I mean, not everything is going to lend itself to that, but even down to what pajamas do you want to wear tonight? What TV show do you want to watch? What song do you want to listen to? What book do you want read to you? That's really probably what would be an easy place to start at home, and then move on to, you know, we can do it all, but choice making at home would really add to your child's experiences. And I would also like to caution that you need to be very careful in how you're identifying things. Am I going to say now fork? Probably not. Am I going to say now lunch? Well, if I say now lunch, this is just lunch. If it doesn't mean breakfast, it doesn't mean snack, and it doesn't mean supper. So but if I said now eating, that makes this a universally understood item. So you have to be careful in word choice and think about how they're going to begin to associate the object with an activity. And so here is the last step in using our calendars, working through a routine, and then we are finished. And that's exactly what we do. We take something very different from our calendar boxes. We take the object or the picture of the activity that we just finished, and we say, now finished, and they help put it in the bucket, or they watch it go in the bucket. It's done. We're ready to move to now art, and the cycle continues. At this time, I think some of the other active learning teachers have examples of some of their calendar objects, as well as showing you that this is not the only thing you can use for a finished bucket. There are, as long as it's very unique. So
we use the same now object container, but for one of my students we use only this container for finished because he does not see at all. And these containers like this you wouldn't be able to see the difference between different textures. And so we found one that's got holes so it feels different, so he can recognize, oh, this is my finished container, because it feels different than something smooth. I have a student who does not have the ability to control her body to move it. And so this is her start finished. She's progressed from this, and we hook this onto her wheelchair, so when she's traveling she has this hooked to her wheelchair. So this strap gets hooked onto her armrest, and we place the object under her hand so that she can feel it and anticipate the location of the area that she's going in throughout her school day. And then the finish for us when we're traveling is we open this up and she gets to feel the stretch of the band, and we place it in here so that's her container. This table are examples of calendar objects that I use in my classroom. I have a few students who are at the whole object level. So we have a ball that represents PE. She also doesn't see very well, so she gets to feel it. And to make it different, it's got a hole, so we squeeze it on her face, and this makes it different than just a regular ball. So when she feels that, hopefully it's several senses working at one time, and then we go to the PE class. I have a student who started with a paintbrush when we went to art class. We would use a paintbrush to represent. We're about to go to art and do arts and crafts, and he is now at the level where it's a piece of the paintbrush, so that it's a little bit different. It still has the bristles, and we're slowly transitioning him hopefully to a picture of a paintbrush. And it's the same with his eating. It used to be a spoon, now it's the spoon attached to the card with a picture of the spoon underneath, in hopes that one day down the road he'll be able to do just the picture card. And it's the same with all of his routines that we use to hopefully eventually get each of the students from whole object all the way to picture. You're cutting all that out, right?
I think it's good that they see the continuum of the classroom, so.
This is an example of what Stephanie and Tammy already talked about. It's just a different variety of the items and the length of the calendar system. So some of my students use the two-step calendar, where they go now, in the beginning of the activity, and then finished at the end of the activity. I'm using a finished box that it's a tin metal, and when you drop, most of the time when you drop something in it, it makes noise. Not very pleasant, but it tells them that this activity is over, especially for visual impaired students. As Tammy and Stephanie mentioned, I use objects. This is, for example, body buzz. So I would say now body buzz, and I would wait for my student to grab the object, and if they're not motivated, I could even turn it on, and they could feel the vibration, and they know that this is coming up. I have a student who is using 4-step calendar now. I'm not sure if, hope the objects stay on. And as well as objects, he is using partial objects or symbols. So this is for his stacking routine. Now stacking, next inclusion, which is represented by a book, partial book. Next, music. So he knows that now he has his stacking routine, then he'll go to inclusion, and then he'll have music. And then at the end of each activity, he's using the finish box. That's the 4th step. So.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here tonight. That is hopefully not too harsh of a crash course about calendars and routines and how this all begins to build their communication with their teachers, with you at home, and please, if you ever have any questions, reach out to your teacher. And now this is Miss Elaine Osborne. She has some more information about our Beyond the Classroom.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just a really brief how-to or how to get to and access some more information from the Frisco ISD website. We have now got our own link, or it's in the process. I think they were working on it this afternoon, so hopefully it's up there. So whenever you are not able to make a training, or we have additional information for you, or community events, or any type of resources that you would be able to, that would assist you with your student and with any questions you might have, we're going to be able to upload it. And so this is a direct link for resources for you. And then besides the Beyond the Classroom link, there are some other links on the special education parent training site that you can explore, and some really great information out there. So I just did a little bit of a PowerPoint. We'll go through it quickly. And then this will also be uploaded to the website. Maybe our teachers can send it out to you so you'll know how to get to the website, since that's what this step-by-step is. So first you'll just go into Frisco ISD website, and then the parent link, click on that. From the parent link, you'll get an array of different sites, which, explore those different sites. They're all about parenting, and there's information that you can access about all different types of parenting and programs at Frisco. The one that leads to the special education link, though, is under parent education. To parent education, then you'll see on the left-hand side of the link there is special education training and events. You're gonna click on that. And then this was taken earlier today, but I believe our link is there at Beyond the Classroom on the left-hand side of the screen. So you'll click on that, and from there you'll have links that take you to the trainings, the PowerPoints that we did last parent training, these PowerPoints, as well as the videotape of Ms. Eisenhart and the other teachers presenting about calendar systems. Our next parent training will be in February, and it's going to be very exciting because we're going to have community agencies and community resources presenting. So keep on the lookout for those dates coming up. And thank you for joining us, and I hope that you have found all of this interesting and will continue to do so in the future.